Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another 2000 call. Got it. That time I got it. Guys, Sean and Dustin are not with us. I was trying to bring Sean here in spirit. Our usual host is out taking care of the family, as is Dustin. Guys, they will be back probably within the next few weeks here. So you're just hanging out with me and Kyle tonight. Kyle, how you doing?
Good man, how you doing?
Living somebody's dream. Guys, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the mock drafts that have been released by the big names, Matt Miller, Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper, fuck Todd McShay. He always waits to the last minute as if he's a big deal. And we're going to go over a little bit about the OC search for Ben Johnson here, guys. How much does it even matter? How much did Declan Doyle do for this organization? He did take a job elsewhere. We'll get into that. And I want to talk a little bit about, now that the Raiders have hired a coach, who the first pick of the draft should be. All that and more after this.
Windy City banners rocking 4 stars aligned. Dynasty dreams rise, Bulls in their prime. Cubs curse shattered, the victory divine. Fields be running, clock ticking on my timeline. Shot-town heroes, legends never fade. Black Hawks flying, cutting ice with the blade. White Sox diamonds, the Southside parade. 4 stars shine bright, legacies they made. Mike with the crown, air rain, no dispute. Sweetness in the backfield, Walter in pursuit. Bear down Sunday's midfield, battles cute. Chicago.
I like that song. What's going on, everybody? Thanks again for joining us for another edition of the Halas Hall Hangover, guys. Not too much going on in terms of Bears, but we did lose another coach after the departure of Eric Bieniemy to the Chiefs for their offensive coordinator position. It looks like Declan Doyle will be the offensive coordinator of it's Baltimore Ravens, right, Kyle? The Baltimore Ravens. Is that Munkin? Who's running that staff there now? Minter?
Minter, Jesse Minter.
Minter.
Monk is
So
left.
yeah, good, a quality head coach. I think Kyle said earlier last week on Monday, probably the best hire of the offseason so far in regards to head coaching hires. And I don't disagree with you. I think he's got a good attitude. He's a leader. I like him. I think he'll succeed in Baltimore. And like you said, he's got a pretty good quarterback to start with. Kyle, I know that you've read about some names, some potential names that Ben Johnson might be looking at. It's in regards to outsourcing the offensive coordinator position. There are obviously some guys internally that Ben Johnson could promote. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who Ben might be interested that's not already with this Bears organization?
Well, Bern, in terms of offensive coordinator, there's not much going on in the news. I mean, first of all, the Bears haven't really scheduled interviews with anybody. The only guy I've heard of outside of the organization would be Chandler Whitmer, and this guy seems to be somebody who's wanted all across the league here. I mean, I believe he's got an interview set up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers already, and the Raiders are showing interest as well. Chandler Whitmer, if anybody doesn't know, is an American football coach, currently serving as co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach for the University of Indiana Hoosiers. So you guys, obviously the team that just won the college championship. I think the reason the Raiders would be interested is because there's a possibility that the Raiders are going to take Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, number 1 overall, and then they would like to reunite him with Chandler Whitmer, who was the quarterback coach this past season. He was a graduate assistant at Ohio State and Clemson. He was offensive quality control coach with the Los Angeles Chargers from 2021 to 2023. He was the pass game specialist for the Atlanta Falcons in 2024. So this is a guy who does have NFL experience. He's also considered by a lot of people around the league to be like the next up-and-coming offensive guru or offensive genius, kind of like Declan Doyle was, like Ben Johnson before him. So this is somebody who's picking up steam, and it might be somebody the Bears bring in for an interview. Outside of that, Brennan, when it comes to the offensive coordinator role, the Bears have not mentioned a single name outside of the organization. Now, obviously, the Bears are probably going to interview J.T. Barrett, Press Taylor, and Antoine Randall out for the job. This is where it gets kind of interesting, Brennan, because J.T. Barrett is one of the most well-respected quarterback coaches in the NFL. A lot of people like him a lot, including Ben Johnson, and he's familiar with the offense. Press Taylor is the Bears passing game coordinator. It was has been an NFL assistant since 2013. So he does have some experience, and he served as an offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. So of these 3 of these guys, this is the guy who has OC experience. So you'd think that he would probably be number 1 on the list, right? Yeah. But then you get to Antoine Randall, and even though he's the wide receivers coach for the Chicago Bears. Last year, Ben Johnson named him the assistant head coach, which means if Ben Johnson would have missed any time last year due to health issues or family emergency, anything like that, Antoine Randall would have been wearing the headset for the Chicago Bears on the sideline. I'm sure Declan Doyle would have been in charge of offensive play calling, but Antoine Randall would have been running the show. So I think all three of these guys really do have a pretty fair shot at becoming the next Bears offensive coordinator. And unfortunately for the Bears, even if they do like Chandler Whitmer a lot, I believe if the Raiders announce to him or tell him that they plan on drafting Fernando Mendoza number 1 overall, I think that the writing's on the wall for Chandler Whitmer. Bernard, the running backs coach is a little bit more interesting because some of these guys I'm about to talk about, according to reporters, the Bears have mentioned these guys and are showing interest in them. So this is coming from the Bears organization themselves. The first name that's popped up, which we've talked about on the show before, is Eric Studsville. He has an experience as an NFL running back coach. He was the running back coach for Miami Dolphins and served in such roles as run game coordinator and associate head coach. So another guy who was basically assistant head coach. He's been mentioned as a strong early candidate by Chicago reports, given his experience and success with the NFL ground game. Another guy that was mentioned the last couple of days here was Deuce Staley, and I'm sure you guys all remember Deuce Staley, NFL running back for the New Orleans Saints. He's a former NFL running back and a coaching veteran. Deuce Staley has coaching experience in multiple NFL staffs and is now being added to the list of potential options for the Chicago Bears. Staley previously worked with the Bears coach Ben Johnson during their time together with the Detroit Lions, which could make him an appealing choice considering their relationship. The last guy, and this one's kind of a outside of the box name, and this is more of just rumors rather than Bears showing interest, but Darren Sproles is a guy who's actually, his name is popping up on numerous different stats right now. Analysts and fan speculation have mentioned former standout running back Darren Sproles as a possible surprise candidate, though there's no official reporting that he's interviewing or has been contacted by anybody. But he's one of those names that's just starting to get murmured around the NFL, and people are showing a lot of interest in. So right now, I'd say if you're talking about like who's head and shoulders the favorite to land this job, I'd say it's Eric Studsville. Another name, Bernie, that I'm sure you heard about the last couple of weeks here that I also heard about the people. Yeah, Pizzo Joe mentions it in the chat here. Matt Forte is a guy that a lot of people have been talking about coming here for interview for the running backs coach position. The only thing with that, guys, is that's all hearsay. I've looked everywhere I possibly can. I've looked for any evidence that the Bears have shown any interest in Matt Forte or about bringing him in for an interview, and I haven't found it anywhere. From what I can find, that's just basically fans and Bears writers talking on Twitter, and it's kind of picking up steam a little bit. But as far as I know, the Bears have shown no interest in bringing Matt Forte in for an interview.
Yeah, I think we should start with the three candidates that have, the internal candidates, the guys who have been with the Bears since last year, already part of Ben's staff. I think it's important to note that if there's only one of these guys that can retain the position they hold and be the OC. Antoine Randall would be promoted. You would have to hire a new receivers coach. The same would be said about RJ Barrett. You'd be looking for a quarterbacks coach. Press Taylor can be the passing game coordinator and the offensive coordinator on this football team. He could do both. So that is, you're not losing a piece to add one, which I think would be important for Ben Johnson, considering he's already lost two. I do want to say the kid, what's the guy's name from Indiana?
Oh, Chandler Whitworth.
Whitworth. In regards to choosing the Bears, if he's been given other offers, like you said, Kyle.
Whitmer.
You would want to be a play caller, I'd imagine, if you're being given the opportunity to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. He won't get that opportunity in Chicago, at least not next year, where he might for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I would imagine if that guy's being offered multiple offensive coordinator positions within the NFL, the Bears is probably on the bottom of his list. I do like Deuce Staley. I think he's a good coach. Like you said, he's been a part of multiple staffs, and that he's made an impact, guys, as a running back coach. And we saw the impact that Eric Bieniemy made on this football team. I think it's important that you still lean on the run, guys. As good as Caleb Williams is and has been, they still want to see the Bears be a top three in the league and running the football like they were this year. I think it's important to get a guy who knows a lot about that, but maybe not so much as an offensive coordinator, more so than a running back coach. Kyle, what do you think Declan Doyle did for this team, and how great a loss is it?
Well, it's almost impossible to say. I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Bears meeting room so you could see exactly how the impact that Declan Doyle had on this team. Like I said, I believe that if for some reason Ben Johnson would have missed a game, I don't think Antoine Randall would have been the offensive play caller. I think it would have been Declan Doyle. And we heard that the Bears did allow Declan Doyle to do some play calling in training camp. He did some play calling in the preseason. So almost live action. I think if anything, I've said this many times in this podcast, I'll say it again. I think Ben Johnson kind of saw a little bit of himself in Declan Doyle. I think he liked the way that Declan Doyle saw the game, the way he saw the field, his play calling ability, innovativeness, creativeness. I think that's the kind of guy that he's looking for right now. I think he's kind of looking for a guy he could groom into taking over play calling if ever he decided he wanted to focus more on the entire team, like especially the defensive side of the ball.
I hope.
But first of all, I think Ben Johnson would have to have a lot more NFL head coaching experience before he pulls that trigger. And secondly, Brandon, you'd have to find a guy who's patient enough to stay here long enough to wait for Ben Johnson to hand over the play calling duties. And like you said earlier, Brandon, I think part of the reason the Bears might have trouble finding an offensive coordinator is because even if it's not a lateral move, it's almost a demotion. Like you said, like if somebody's coming into the NFL out of college and they have a chance to join the Bears staff or say the Vegas Raiders staff and they have a chance to be a play caller in Vegas, why wouldn't they take that? Because that would kickstart their NFL career, right? If they do a good job calling plays for the Raiders and that offense starts to get rolling and they start to show success, then they would have a better chance of getting hired as a head coach. If they come to Chicago and they're not doing play and they're not calling any plays, they would kind of have to do what Declan Doyle did in this coaching stint with Ben Johnson and move to it, basically a lateral move, but with play calling abilities. That's why he ended up ultimately going to the Baltimore Ravens. And Brennan, like you said, shout out to 4-Star Chicago Sports, because you and I both said that he's not going to go to Philly. If anything, he's going to Baltimore because Lamar Jackson will make him look good. I mean, Lamar Jackson is a damn good quarterback. He's recently won 2 MVPs. I think that was always going to be the spot for Declan Doyle if he was offered the job. The offensive coordinator doesn't worry me as much as the running backs coach because, like you said, Brennan, we don't really know what an offensive coordinator does for the Chicago Bears. We just don't know. I think
Grunt work.
I think if anything, the running back coach should be a little bit tougher because I don't know how much time Ben Johnson has to spend in that running back room. You know, that's probably more a situation where he's going to leave that solely up to the running back coach. And you could do that with a guy like Eric Bieniemy because he had so many years of experience and you know that he's good at what he does. He's one of the most well-respected running back coaches in the NFL and offensive coordinators. It was almost like you hired a general manager to be a manager, you know, like Eric Bieniemy has been an offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. He did a great job with Chicago. DeAndre Swift had his best season as a running back in the NFL. Kyle Monangai came on strong halfway through the season. That to me is going to be the one that's a little more interesting, going to be tougher to replace. But I agree, Brendan. I like Deuce Staley a lot. And I think the thing that gives Deuce Staley the benefit of the doubt in Ben Johnson's mind right now is that they did spend time in Detroit. And when they were there, the Detroit Lions had one of the best running games in the NFL.
Cal, do me a favor, because for whatever reason, my phone very much limits my ability to see this. Go ahead and give a shout out to the guys who are already here with us in the chat.
Yeah, so we have True Pilgrim in the house. Breaking news, Bruce, as always. Vizzo Joe is here. Erica's in the house.
What's going
Erica,
on,
thanks for
fellas?
joining us.
Erica, how you doing?
Sean Lugo's in the house. Sean says his vote for OC is Press Taylor. I think it's probably due to the offensive coordinator experience he brings to the table. Dante Purify is in the house. John's in the house.
What's up, Dante?
Thank you so much for joining us, boys. We appreciate you guys as always, and Erica. We love you. And Brendan, real quick, Bruce has a couple more names on the list here. See some of the names, some of the candidates. Remember, guys,
breaking the news.
This stuff is some of these guys are rumors that are just coming out from NFL writers or from fans, and some of these guys the Bears have expressed interest in. I heard Tanner Ingstring was one of those guys that kind of the media was talking about, but I looked at every article I could find. I never saw anything with the Bears actually connected to him. Antoine Randall obviously is going to get an interview for offensive coordinator job. Hank Fraley's another one that I looked for hours, Brennan. I couldn't find anybody. JT Barrett is somebody that
I don't love the Hank Fraley thing. To be honest.
JT Barrett is somebody that the Bears I think are really considering. I think JT Barrett, Antoine Randall are at the top of their list. And then Davis Webb's another one I heard, but Davis Webb I heard was also very interested in getting some coaching position for the Buffalo Bills. And I think if he was offered that, that's probably the way he would go. But I mean, Brennan, at this point, it's all speculation. I don't know which one of these guys are realistic to the Bears. I think the Bears probably feel like they owe this staff a real shot before they give anybody from the outside a shot. But I don't know, man. I think, I mean, I wouldn't be upset with Hank Fraley. I wouldn't be upset with Davis Webb, but it remains to be seen which one of these guys are actual realistic candidates.
Do you think that there's a limitation with
Oh,
Randall Earl if
Brian,
he's not?
Davis Webb is off the table. Vizard Joe said he
Oh,
got
that's right.
promoted.
Yeah, that's the guy who. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That's who Sean Payton just promoted.
And so, yeah,
Oh,
Bruce, you're a
yeah,
little behind the 8 ball here because
yeah,
Romy
Bruce.
says
Jeez,
Tanner.
man, making us look like idiots.
Yeah, Bruce says
Just kidding,
Tanner
Bruce.
signed with the team, and Davis Webb is promoted to Denver. Romy, do you know who he signed with?
We'll give you time on that, Romy. You're on the clock. Oh, I think it would be a wise decision for Ben to hire a guy from within because they're not play calling. If you were looking for a play caller, I'd say, the sky's the limit. Like, interview it, bring them all in, bring as many people as you can, talk to them all. Ben's good at identifying people with talent. Like you said, you
Atlanta,
saw
Brian.
something in Declan Doyle, Atlanta. Okay, that's Stefanski's guy then. But
I'm
I
starting
want
to like
to.
that coaching staff.
Is there a concern about the potential for Randall L's future if he's given an interview and not given the job, considering he's been with Ben Johnson longer than any other coach?
Well, what I find interesting about Randall L is, if Ben Johnson believes that Randall L is mature enough and has enough experience in the NFL to be the leader on the sideline and wear that headset, make personnel decisions, challenges, timeouts, so on and so forth, you would certainly think that he would at least have an inkling that he's good enough to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL, right? Because the head coaching
Especially
duties
without play
are
calling.
yeah, the head coaching duties are tougher than the offensive coordinator duties. So you think that if he's willing to let him wear his headset, if there was some sort of emergency and they needed a backup head or interim head coach for a couple of games, he certainly would rely on him to be an offensive coordinator. But I don't know, man. There's just so many different ways they can go right now. I also, I don't know if you've noticed or not, Brennan, but there just doesn't seem to be any sense of urgency from this team. Like you're not hearing like the rest of these teams come out. Like the Bears have requested an interview. The Bears have requested an interview. The Bears are looking at. The Bears are talking about. There's not that many names floating around right now. Outside of, like I said, the quarterback's coach last offensive coordinator from Indiana. The only guys the Bears really talked about or we've heard anything about are guys who are on the staff already. So that leads me to believe that the Bears are probably planning on hiring internally.
And I do want to. I stated on this show last week, and I still believe this firmly. I don't think Ben Johnson's going to recycle a previously terminated offensive coordinator. Press Taylor, like you said, did spend some time as a play caller, but I think Ben Johnson, like you said, Kyle, likes the young guy. He's uncorrupted. You can mold him and make him into the play caller that Ben Johnson wants him to be. He's not tainted. There's no history there. His mind is clean. I do think Ben wants a young guy that he can mold. I don't think he wants an old guy that's been here and there and got terminated from a staff, one of these 10 staffs that got blown up. So I do believe that he'll go with a guy, even an RJ Barrett would make a lot of sense for Ben because it's just a guy who Ben can kind of just, he can direct, he can point in the direction that he wants this guy to be in regards to who he is as a play caller. Because Ben Johnson's he stands out as a play caller, right? He's aggressive. He's different from most of the league. That's what got him his head coaching job. And he probably wants a guy who he can make into something similar to that if he's ever going to concede the play calling.
I agree with you, man. I don't think the Bears' next offense coordinator is going to be some 30-year NFL vet. I think this is going to be a guy that, like you said, Ben Johnson looks at as a kind of a piece of clay and you can mold to kind
That
of
30-year-old vet doesn't want to take an OC
yeah,
job where he's not calling plays.
adopt his schemes, adopt his mentality. Ben Johnson seems to be a very forward thinker. He's kind of always ahead of the curve, and I think he wants a guy who he believes can be the same. It's a very tough position to fill because, like I said, if you know for a fact you're coming here and you're not going to get that accolade of play caller on your resumes, it's going to be tough for you to find a head coaching job. If a guy comes here and if a guy goes to the Raiders and he's calling plays and they do a good job, people will start showing interest as head coach. For the Bears, at the same time, Brendan, it is a desirable job because if you come here and Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams continue to grow and continue to show success, your name is automatically going to find its way into coaching searches. I'm not talking about head coach, but even offensive coordinator, just like Declan Doyle. Yeah. So I think that this is going to be a guy like you just said, Brian. I think this offensive coordinator hire is going to be a guy who has never called plays in the NFL. He's kind of green. He's not like some 20, 30-year vet. And like you said, Ben Johnson's going to kind of mold him to adopt his mentality, adopt his schemes, adopt his personnel. And then he'll learn from there under Ben Johnson. And one day, hopefully he'll get a chance like Declan Doyle did. But it's there's just really no, at this time, Brendan, at this point in time, there's just no clear sight of view. There's there's nobody who's stuck out as like the favorite in these coaching searches. And like I said,
Pilgrim says, not going to lie, losing Doyle hurts.
the rest of the NFL are asking teams to interview coordinators or running backs coach or wide receivers coach. We're not hearing any of that out of Chicago right now at all. So that tells me that the Bears are in no rush just to get these coaches signed.
Yeah, and it seems to be a trend. I don't think it's just unique to Ben Johnson. It seems guys like teams that are,
I
putting
think Dante is convinced that Ben doesn't like himself. He says Ben doesn't want to see that believes in scheming 50-50 ball.
These teams seem to be looking for fresh legs. They seem to be looking for guys who aren't corrupt, the guys that haven't been play calling in the NFL. And it says a lot about Declan Doyle. It says that Ben Johnson probably made a pretty solid hire in a guy like Declan Doyle, because you can go hire guys. These guys in college that are play calling want jobs in the NFL. They've been play callers. You can go hire these guys. If you're the Ravens, you can go hire a guy out of college that's schemed an offense and it's called plays before. And they wanted Declan Doyle, and that's a guy who's never called plays before. And I think they probably got the best candidate available at the position when it comes to a guy who did not call plays previously that's being promoted to that position.
Well, yeah, if you ask around the NFL, man, I know a lot of people are kind of like poking fun at Declan Doyle when he was hired, like, oh, he's going to be the guy who has to go get Ben's coffee, so on and so forth. Like I said, if you listen to Ben talk about him, if you listen to the rest of the NFL talk about him, people are very high on Declan Doyle, and I believe now he is the youngest offensive coordinator, at least the youngest play caller in the NFL. I don't know, you want to fact check that, but I know he's down there for sure. And for him to be at this point in his career to calling plays as offensive coordinator for an organization like Baltimore Ravens is nothing to be scoffed at. He's obviously a very good coach who has a great reputation in the NFL. And I do think that if Ben believes he was the next offensive guru in the NFL, everything that Ben has shown me so far since he's joined the Chicago Bears has been nothing short of amazing. If he believes that guy is going to be the next great offensive coordinator in the NFL, I believe it.
Oh, real quick. Declan, beer, please. Thank you.
I wish.
Kyle, I'm going to throw a segment in here. Okay. I'm going to left field this show right now. I'm going to take you off guard. I've been reading a lot. I forgot about this. I did want to talk about this a little bit. I've been reading a lot about Ryan Poles should be fired for not blocking the interview with Ian Cunningham because he could have. What's your take on this, Kyle? I have been battling. My fingertips are sore from all the typing. I've been battling people online about this because there's two very different perspectives here, and I want to know what you think.
Well, first and foremost, Brent, that was never going to happen. I mean, Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham are two of the best of friends. These guys have known each other for a very long time. They both leaned on each other in the past. These guys have all the respect in the world for each other. I know for a fact that when Ian Cunningham sat down with Ryan Poles and said, hey, man, listen, I love being a part of the organization. I love being your left-hand man, but this is a chance for me to progress in my career and move on to the next big, basically it's a
Do what's
promotion.
best for me and my family.
It's a promotion, man. I mean, he's going to make more money. He's now a standing NFL or GM. I mean, that's a big deal. And I guarantee you that when this conversation happened, Ryan Poles was all for it. It was like, hey, man, you go wherever makes you happy. I'm happy for you and your family. I want you to be the best you can be. I want you to get as far as you can get. And I think that there was never even really a discussion to be had. Now, it sucks that the Falcons kind of pulled a shady move by saying,
the Matt Ryan thing was some bullshit.
Matt Ryan's still the senior executive, so technically he's not really a full-time GM. He's still kind of a part-time GM, so we don't have to give the Bears any compensatory picks. I think that's bullshit. I think that's a loophole in the NFL.
Right, because the word compensatory, it's to compensate. So it's regarding the team that's losing a piece. It's irrelevant to me what position this man will hold in the team that he's going to, because we're the loser. We lose the piece. That's what compensation is for the team that loses something.
And it's probably the only team in the NFL he could have got hired from where you would not have received some sort of picks. It's probably the only team in the NFL because Matt Ryan knew what he was doing. He's not stupid. He's smart. And Brendan, remember too that Ryan Poles and Matt Ryan also have a relationship. Remember that Matt Ryan was in the Bears building during training camp at one point. I mean, these guys they're friends, man. And like I said, I think this was kind of one of those situations where in Ryan Poles' mind, Ian Cunningham's mind, Matt Ryan's mind, everybody won. I think that's kind of the way it is. I agree with you, Romy. It's like almost like the Bears were punished. I think instead of people showing so much criticism of Ryan Poles, it's not a good look for the NFL. it's not. That's clearly a loophole that the NFL needs to address. But let's get some of these chats real quick. Dante says the new OC will be someone who sleeps at Halas Hall. Yeah, probably. I mean, that we know Ben Johnson did a lot of. Declan won't be missed except for all the Dunkin' Donuts points he accumulated going in coffee runs. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure. Don't be surprised at all if that Baltimore Ravens offense looks really, really good under Declan Doyle. Some of the Vizzo Joe says Declan's press conferences were always informative. Yeah, he sounded like, if he was obviously a very articulate, well-spoken guy. Romy says, block guys. It's set a bad viewing of how Bears do things in that case, I think is what he's looking for. Set. True Program says, shaking my head, the league fucked us on comp picks 100%. I don't think it was Ryan Poles. I think it's more the NFL that people should be working.
Yeah, I think the impulse anger, the impulse response was directed at the wrong person and Ryan Poles. And like you said, Kyle, you're not going to hold somebody back. This is the thing that I kind of try to focus on most. And Ryan Poles can now give somebody else an opportunity, and I'm sure he's got a few names in mind, to be his assistant general manager. So yes, God bless Ian Cunningham and his new opportunity. I hope that he thrives. But you're opening the door for somebody else to succeed here in Chicago. And this is, I always say this, guys, and I want to lean heavily on this. It is not about what you lose. It never will be in this game. You will always lose somebody. That's the name of the business. It is about what you do to replace them. We have faith in Ryan Poles, as opposed to saying he should be fired because we didn't get compensatory picks and didn't block the interview, which we all knew was never going to happen. If you know anything about Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham's relationship, that just wasn't going to happen. But this is going to be a test for Ryan Poles. Who do you bring in? Who's the guy that we're going to be seeing in the draft room standing next to Poles whispering in his ear? And is that guy going to make an impact the same as Ian Cunningham did? And Ben Johnson, to me, had a better influence over Ryan Poles' draft than Ian Cunningham ever did. I'm not saying anything against, I have no ill feelings towards Ian Cunningham, but everybody talks about like, oh, Ryan Poles, he needs that guy. That was his guy. Did you see how much he leaned on him during how well did he do? I think the best draft Ryan Poles ever had is when he hired his new head coach.
Yeah, but I think they fed off of each other a lot. I think they helped each other out a lot. I think I'm not taking anything away from Ian Cunningham now that he's gone. I'm not going to be that guy who's like, he wasn't that important anyway. That guy probably sucks. Good luck, Falcons. Like, I think Ian Cunningham is a name that's been in this GM search carousel for a long time, and I think he's just looking for the right situation, and he found it in the Atlanta Falcons. I'm happy for him, but there's no doubt that whoever Ryan Poles hires to be his new assistant GM is going to play a huge role in these drafts. And I think right now, Brennan, without any evidence or hearing any names from the media, I think it would be Jeff King. I think that'd be the first guy that they would consider. I mean, that guy's been here since 2015. He's made it through multiple coaching and GM changes. I think the Bears like him a lot. I think even if we don't agree with everything that he's done, I think the reputation in the building is different than the one we have for him. And I think he's probably going to be the first guy interviewed for the job. I do.
And I want to say this, guys. You can't pick and choose when to be outraged. This is the thing that I probably commented the most on social media when hearing Ryan Poles should be fired for this. Nobody showed this outrage when Ryan Poles decided, speculatively, there was a third-round pick on the table from the Philadelphia Eagles for Justin Fields, but Whittle Justin didn't want to go there, so he settled on a sixth-round pick. I didn't see nearly enough outrage. I was pissed, and everybody else was like, "Well, he's doing it's a good look, man. He's doing what's right for his player." Okay, well, he's doing what's right for his assistant general manager and his friend, his close friend. So hold one view or the other. Be consistent in how you view things.
And listen, it scares the hell out of me because we've seen conversations inside the war room. Brent, you saw Ryan Poles was about this close to trading up to draft Roma Dunze, and you heard Ian Cunningham, the voice of reason, sitting next to him, was like, "Hey, don't trade up, don't trade up."
Yeah, but he was also there when he traded up for Torrey Taylor.
If the Falcons are not taking Rome Odunze, the Falcons are not going to take Rome Odunze. Do not trade your pick. Stay at number 9 and you'll get Rome. And he did. And, there's going to have to be somebody who can kind of talk Ryan Poles off a ledge like that. But at the same time, guys, Ryan Poles is learning as a GM as well. I mean, remember that this past year was his 4th year. It's the best draft he's ever had. He's obviously getting better. He needed help from guys like Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen. I think people criticize him for that. I don't think that's anything out of the norm. I think a lot of good GMs have good coaches in their ear helping them with their draft, telling them exactly what they need to get the right personnel on the field to run their schemes, their defense, their offense. I think Ryan Poles will find that guy. I think Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen are going to be heavily involved in every single draft pick going forward in the future. I think this team's going to be right. It's funny to me that, and I'm not talking about anybody in the chat, but I see the same stuff on Instagram, Brian. All these Bears fans who are so quick to get rid of Ryan Poles. I mean, guys, we were in overtime a field goal away from going to the NFC Championship, and this guy's original contract, Ryan Poles, that was his 4th year. That was the original contract he signed. I mean, it's like the Bears finally make the playoffs. They finally show like the future is bright. The arrow's pointing up, and they're about to find some success, some sustainable success. And the Bears fan solution is fire, 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 fire. Like, no. I think consistency in the NFL is key. We're almost not built in a day. How many times have we seen players or coaches get hurt from constant personnel changes? We talked about this with Jay Cutler. They changed his offensive coordinator every single year, and they were like, "Oh, Jay Cutler's just good enough to break your heart. He's not great." Well, I mean, how easy is it to be great or be consistent when you have to learn a new playbook every single year? The same can be said for the front office. The only way for these guys to build a relationship with each other is to spend time together and start to know each other. And I think what Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson have going on right now is a damn good thing. And there's no way I'd change it at this point. Not a chance.
Well, and it's important to note, because I've been very critical of Ryan Poles, and fairly so. I've never said anything out of line. I think
What's up, Phil?
all my criticisms have fallen within the boundaries of justifiable. But a GM, guys, needs to be able to lean on the vision of their head coach.
And Dante was pissed off about the Justin Fields
Thank you,
situation.
Dante. There was very little, right? There was very little outrage, and it's not even a Fields thing, man. It was
Joe was upset too.
It was a you're not doing what's best for your football team thing. That's what bothered. And the people that are showing all this outrage over Ian Cunningham did not really show the same, because it's Justin wants to go there. He's a good dude. Like okay.
Bro, we got Ed Buckley in the house, man. He said,
"What's going on, Buck?"
He said, "I would be willing to bet that Ian learned more from Poles than Poles did from him. I'm sure they complement each other. The NFL must make this right with these picks." I agree. You guys. It's an NFL issue. It's not a Chicago Bears issue. And I agree. I've seen the same stuff that Brennan's seeing. Ryan Poles fails again. Ryan Poles fails us again. No, this is the NFL failed us again. And it's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. The NFL needs to start really honing in on some of these things, because there's just too much stuff happening in the NFL right now that's starting to make football fans wonder. And it's frankly needs to be addressed. Like Sean brought up on a show a couple of weeks ago, that the Bears, the NFL needs to start creating like basically a university for referees in the offseason, so they can all get on the same damn page. It's one thing if you don't agree with a rule, that's fine. But even if they're going to push a rule that we don't agree with, at least call it consistently, right? Like, oh, this is a catch over here, but then this game over here, the exact same situation, that's not a catch. And I don't want to go off on a whole tangent about that stuff, man, but it's just all the stuff that's happening in the NFL lately. And Bears fans are so quick to judge the Bears. Well, how about we start judging Roger Goodell, who seems to be pretty shitty at his job.
This is not directed at our chat fans, because the one thing I can say about you guys in the chat, the guys that have been loyal to us and been in these shows that we've kind of gotten to know on whatever level you want to call it, you're always consistent. The razzle dazzles of the world don't like Caleb Williams. The Kyle, who's the guy that's always shitting on the Bears organization? I forget, but everybody in this chat, everybody in this chat seems to kind of hold the same perspective no matter what it is we talk about. And I think it's really important that if you're a person that wants to enter the world of sports analytics and evaluation, just be consistent in how you feel. Be consistent. You cannot
don't follow the national narrative.
If you feel one way about this and then the same thing happens in a different light and you feel differently, it's like your bias is showing. And stop doing that.
Don't ever follow suit with the national media narrative, because they're never your best
and Courtney Cronin actually had to respond to all this Ryan Poles hate. She made a long, it's like a 3-paragraph Twitter post, X post, whatever, about how like people need to just tone it back. Let's pump the fucking brakes here. And I agreed with what she, I thought, I'm not a big giant fan of hers, but I thought it was well said. and I thought she got the message relayed. Um, so yeah, just be consistent, guys. Be consistent how you feel.
Well, guys, just keep that name in mind, Jeff King, because I have a strong feeling Jeff King is going to be the new Bears assistant GM, and I think Ryan Poles. I think he should be judged after this next draft class because obviously we know that he's shown experience. He seems like he's getting better. He's not making the same mistakes, at least not as consistently. The Bears' last draft was by far their best. Let's see how him, Dennis Allen, and Ben Johnson do this year in the upcoming draft, and then if the Bears don't improve this defense and don't get any better, don't improve their team, then we could start talking about the failures. But right now, I like the way this organization is going, and I would just keep it. As a matter of fact, Brennan, I wish the Bears could have brought the entire damn coaching staff back, the entire front office back. I mean, it was the first time in my life I've been happy with the Bears team in a very long time. So I hope this continues to grow and only
They executed
gets
at a
better.
really quality level. I mean,
Yeah, and remember, Ryan Poles is the reason that he's part of the reason Ben Johnson's here.
So yeah, let's get to that. I sidetracked myself. A GM needs to be able to. This only works with both pieces of the puzzle, right? A GM has to be able to lean on a head coach's direction.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson said he wants consistency in the front office.
An organization in which the GM has the vision will fail. That doesn't work. The head coach is required to have the vision. The head coach needs to know what he wants.
It's got to be a perfect marriage, right? It's got to be a good marriage.
When you're in the dark, like Ryan Poles was with Matt Eberflus, and I'm not absolving him of responsibility because he decided to bring Matt Eberflus back. I don't know that he initially decided to hire that guy. I'm questioning that more and more every day. I do think that it was so lost in translation because Matt Eberflus obviously wasn't the guy for the job. He wasn't a quality head coach, and he didn't have a vision. He didn't. He could say to Ryan Poles, "This position's important to me in my scheme," and Ryan Poles would try to go find the best guy he could at it. Where Ben Johnson, I think, is a little more involved. I think Ben is telling Ryan, "These are my guys."
I don't need a tight end. I need Colston Loveland.
Exactly.
I think
exactly. And because if you tell Kyle, because if let's say Ben Johnson was Matty Rufus, let's say that he says to Ryan Poles, "I want a tight end with that 10th pick." Who does Ryan Poles probably draft?
Probably Tyler Warren.
He probably takes the best rated guy on the board, which
by every measure
was Tyler Warren. And because Ben's vision, he knew that Colston fit his scheme and his vision for the future. Look at how this guy thrived here, and now you're looking back and thinking, God, I don't know that Tyler Warren would have ever been able to accomplish what Colston Loveland will in the future in this offense. Because he's your centerpiece. He's your cornerstone.
That's a good example to use, Brennan, because I like Tyler Warren a lot. I think he's a damn good player, but they're just two totally different players. And it was obvious that Ben Johnson thought that Loveland's skill set fit this scheme and this offense better than Tyler Warren's. And because if you listen to the national media, by all accounts, Tyler Warren was the best tight end in this class. And, even in the first place, Brennan, for a team to be
widely reported.
And for a team to be considering a tight end in the top 10 takes a lot of scrutiny. A lot of people, every time a team takes a tight end in the top 10, there's just nothing but negative things said. The Bears sat there calmly, quietly, and we're like, well, we'll see what happens. And you saw how Colston Loveland grew in this offense. It's almost like it was meant to be. Like it was a match made in heaven. And I expect more of that in the future.
I agree. Like I said, I'm happy for Ian Cunningham. I'm happy for Declan Doyle. I'm happy for Eric Bieniemy. It looks like Al Harris is going to remain as Chicago Bears defensive backs coach. But that being said, guys, we're on a short show tonight. Kyle and Sean are meeting with our media director tonight, so we're going to cut this one a little short. So let's go ahead and dive into the next segment, Kyle. We've had a lot of mock drafts. I mean, I was able to find like 9 or 10. Fuck Todd McShay. Fuck that guy, dude. Seriously, I'm sorry for anybody who likes him in the chat. It's just my opinion. The guy's such a fucking tool. But I want to go with the three guys that you're all probably very familiar with.
I agree, John.
The three guys.
Roger Goodell just said in his special today, the refs did a great job this year. He must be blind. And John says, don't be bold and bullshit just for the sake of it. 100%, man. Roger Goodell's a joke.
Yeah, Roger Goodell can fucking join Todd McShay in that fucking hot tub. Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, Matt Miller. These are the three guys. I don't really love Mel Kiper. If you look at his history and hit and miss, and it's a very hard thing to do, man, obviously, but he's not often wrong on the player. He's wrong entirely on the position that a team is willing to draft with their picks. Oh, but we're going to go over, guys, some of the mock drafts. They have released their 1.0s, the first round, if you will, or first draft, if you will, of their mock drafts. You know, these guys will do 2 or 3 more as as the draft gets closer after the combine.
It's a
But
profit.
I want to talk specifically. We're going to talk. We're going to be a little broad on this to begin with, because just not the players specifically. There's something, Kyle, that I've told you once or twice already. Is kind of I can't get out of my mind. And I think, am I the only Bears fan, Kyle? I mean, am I the only person seeing it this way? Every mock draft that I looked at today, there was, I think I looked at 9.
What's up, Steve? What's up, James?
They were all
What's up, Daniel?
defensive players mocked to the Bears in the first round. Now,
Which makes sense.
I
Makes
don't
a lot of sense.
disagree that the Bears should take the most quality player they're going to get in this draft on the defensive side of the football. I do, however, wonder if we're being too quick to assume that that's the case, because we didn't need a tight end with the 10th pick last year. Ben Johnson's putting the offense that he thinks can, like you said, Kyle, just outscore the other team, plain and simple. He's putting that together. I don't know that he's got it yet. What is the likelihood, Kyle, that this Ben Johnson and his staff and Ryan Poles, that these guys can entirely exclude the idea of drafting a running back or a left tackle or anybody on the offensive side of the football in this 2026 draft?
Well, Brennan, I'll tell you this. 6 weeks ago, I would have totally agreed that Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen would have sat down and said, you know what? Ryan, we kind of did everything your way this last offseason to help Caleb Williams out as much as we can, help this offense grow.
Ben, we kind of did everything your way.
Yeah, Ben, sorry. Dennis, it's your turn now to be able to try to build this bring in the personnel you want to try to make this defense better. But like Romy says here, left tackle in the first round, I think that Ozzie Trapillo thing threw a hell of a wrench in the gears, man. I mean, I just don't know. I think if it was, say, Colston Loveland who's out for all of next season, they probably would look past tight end and just lean on Cole Kmet more. But if you're talking about a position as important as the left tackle for in the NFL, especially for a right-handed quarterback and Caleb Williams on his blind side, I think that's something the Bears need to show a lot of priority this offseason. I mean, that's one of the most important positions in football. I argue that it's the second most important position on a football field outside of the quarterback. And the Bears are going to have to find a way to get this right. Brendan, we've been talking about left tackle. We've been talking about left tackle for 8 years now. I mean, it's and I know it's no fault of the Bears because they drafted one in the left round. He looked like he was going to be a good player, but it's time for the Bears to address this. I don't think that the Bears are going to draft left tackle in the first round. I think they put more priority on the defensive side of the football this offseason. But I do think that come second or third round, you're going to be looking at another left tackle. Now, listen, Brennan, I understand Ben Johnson's an offensive head coach, and he's probably enamored by all these new shiny toys in the draft. And it might be hard for him to look past some of them. But at the same time, Ben Johnson's a very smart guy. And he knows in order to win football games and win a Super Bowl, you have to be sound on both sides of the football, especially both lines, defense and offensive line. I think if they go into the meeting room and Ryan's like, hey, man, we got to find a way to get more pressure on the quarterback. We got to find a way to fix this defensive line. The run game's not good enough. It's just not acceptable. It's not where it needs to be. Dennis, what do you need here to run your scheme and get better on the defensive side of the football? I think Ben's going to be all about fixing this defensive line, man, because Brennan, you talked about it all off season before the season. I disagree with you a little bit. I was wrong. The prophet says it here, Brennan. Pass rush is just a glaring hole. I mean, it's in the NFL, you win 2 ways. You make the quarterback comfortable, give him time in the pocket, run the ball, good offensive line, and you get after the quarterback and disrupt the timing of the offense. And right now, the Bears just aren't doing it.
This is why I'm glad we're bringing this up, though, because we saw the Jahmyr Gibbs thing, guys. It was aggressive, and Ben Johnson, I think, had more to do with that than Dan Campbell. They traded, I think, up to draft him. Running back is a position a lot of people have speculated Ben Johnson thinks needs to be better. Can you address some pass rush in the offseason and free agency or with trades or however you might, like you did the offensive line?
That's what Scrolls is saying right here. He says use free agency to fix the pass.
So is Ben Johnson telling Ryan Poles right now, please, like you did this offensive line last offseason, do what you can to fix this defensive line and free agency and through trades and however you need to, so I can spend my picks the way I want? Is that a possibility, guys? Is running back what's on Ben Johnson's priority list? I agree. Somebody said, I don't think left tackle is going to be your top pick. I do agree with that. But do you draft a running back? Does Ryan Poles fix some of this defensive front, this trend on the trenches on the defensive side of football, and give Ben the opportunity to draft a guy in the first round that he wants on his offense, and then use your second, third, some mid-round picks on the defensive line again. There's a lot of opportunity here for Ben to still, guys, 56 or 57% of the time, your head coach drafts the position that he coaches,
Yeah,
a position on the side of the ball that he
listen,
coaches.
Brett, I understand the argument. I understand what you're saying, and I agree that Ben is always going to probably be a little bit more lenient towards the offense and be more focused on the offense than the defense. But at the end of the day, in order to win football games or in order to win championships, you got to be good at both, right? And the Bears defense, if it was ranked 14th in the NFL, maybe it's something you could overlook. But let's face it, Brennan, if you look at the statistics, I'm not talking about outside of the takeaways. This is one of the leakiest defenses in the NFL last year. Now, listen, a huge part of that is due to injuries, massive injuries for the Chicago Bears. I mean, the 3 players they decided to extend.
And the
since
trenches
he's been
affected
here.
the
Yeah.
secondary, obviously.
I mean,
We saw that.
Jalen Johnson missed most of the season. Kyler Gordon played 3 games. Tyreek Stevenson was in and out. We don't really know what's going on there. I mean, I expect the Bears to use most of the resources this offseason on the defensive side of the ball. Now, listen, that being said, guys, go look at Abdul Carter's season this past season with the New York Giants. That by all accounts, the best pass rusher in the NFL draft, right? No doubt about it. Go look at the season. Go look at the statistics. Not impressive. Not impressive. Like the Bears drafting a defensive end in the first round or a pass rusher doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be out on somebody in free agency because these guys take time to develop. These guys, this is not something that happens overnight. If you bring in Abdul Carter here and he gets 2.5 sacks like he did for the Giants, you need somebody who's still getting after the quarterback. So don't be surprised at all if the Bears go sign a Trey Hendrickson in this in free agency, and then also draft a pass rusher, defensive tackle, a disruptive D3 technique in the NFL draft. That wouldn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. And another thing we should take into account is, guys, Dennis Allen likes guys who can do a little bit of everything, right? He can move them in, he can move them out. Don't be surprised at all if Dennis Allen drafts another Shamar Turner type player and moves him around. He's the 3 technique
Well,
or
and I
defense.
think, Kyle, and I want to say this, like, I think the trenches up, I think the guys up front heavily affected the secondary. So for those of you who are probably thinking to yourself right now, like, oh, the secondary is just as important right now as because
I
it was
agree, James.
leaky. It was leaky. It's just important as the guys up front. You've put a lot of capital into that secondary. You've selected, you've paid them, you've selected them, you've got a lot invested there. And I think that if you shore up the front side a little bit, those guys in the back are gonna flourish. But
Yeah, I think they could sneak into the top 3 secondary in the NFL conversation. I think they're all very, very skilled players. But if you it's hard to cover a guy for 30 seconds, right? Like
I shared a couple of players I like that would be late second, third to high fourth round picks at the edge position. And 2 things. I got a lot of shit for this online because I posted some guys that are a little undersized, Kyle. They're more edge than end. Because that is kind of college football is kind of starting to define these things as 2 different things, right? You have your edge, which is a guy that can stand up.
Pass rush specialists, your NASCAR type package guys. Then you have your guys that can set the edge, who can play basically all around good football, but are also good at getting after the quarterback. Yeah.
And people kept saying to me, in Dennis Allen's scheme, these lightweight guys that you're throwing out here, it's just ridiculous. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, first off, the boundaries are being broken down on that, guys. I think today's NFL, you can throw a Micah Parsons into a 4-3, and he'll be all right. He'll be all right. And I think Dennis Allen, like you just said, you've got these versatile Swiss Army knife-like players. Why not get a guy that can play a little bit of linebacker for this defense and rush the pass? Is that something just because of the weight of a player that Dennis Allen will rule out?
I don't know, bro. I mean, I don't think that they would necessarily rule out that kind of guy. I think that they're looking for the best players wherever they can find them, maybe even outside of position, or maybe even outside of scheme. I think your best bet of building a championship caliber football team is just bringing blue chip talent and see if you can fit them somewhere. Now, listen, there are certain scenarios, obviously, in which that's not going to work. But I think for the most part, these guys who are coming out of college, if you can add a couple pounds to them, you can change the playing style. I mean, all these guys can be molded into what you want them to be.
I agree, James.
Austin Booker was drafted by the Bears. People where he was highly touted. People said if he stayed at Kansas for another year, he was going to be a really good all-around football player. He got here. Dennis Allen got here.
He's a little undersized, right?
Oh, Dennis Allen got here and was like, this guy's a little too small. We need to add some weight to him. I think he ended up gaining 8 pounds of muscle. I mean, he looked like a completely different guy. He's probably going to put on a little more weight this offseason as well.
Kid's a freak. He's a
but
basketball.
Burden, look what he's done. I mean, look what he's done. He's looked really damn good. And listen, he's obviously not a finished product, no doubt about it. And he doesn't fit the narrative for the Dennis Allen prototypical defensive end. He doesn't. But look what he's done. I think if you get talent in the building, with how good of a coach Dennis Allen is, I think he will find a way to fit them into the scheme and he'll make this team better. Now, listen, he probably has his guys who are his prototypical size, but if those guys aren't there, you can't reach for somebody just because of his build or of his athletic traits. The Bears need to focus on drafting the best available player, especially when you're talking about Brennan. We're no longer picking at 1, 5, 8, 10, 12, 15.
Visit Joe, you're 100% correct.
We're picking in the 20s now. We're picking in the 20s now. Yeah, and I agree with everybody in the chat. A lot of people here are saying defensive tackle. They need to build the line. I agree with you guys. I've been seeing it since
not just
day
tackle guys. I don't want to nose tackle.
Or Brennan both. I mean, you need to focus on stopping the run as well, right? So if the Bears brought in one of the best one techs in the draft, and this guy came here and was like the best run stopper in football, I would not be disappointed in any way, shape, or form.
I want a pass rusher.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. No doubt about it. And you would like a guy who could do both, right?
I want to say this, guys. I
Phil,
am a college football guy.
Real quick, Brennan. Phil says, "What would it cost us to obtain Trey Hendrickson?" From what I heard today, Phil, $22 million a year is what his camp is looking for. That's what I heard. Which is actually, if you consider it, if you consider the rest of the contracts for defensive ends the last 2 years, that's really not that bad. Now, listen, he is a little long in the tooth.
Oh, his price decreased after the season.
And he dealt with a lot of injuries last year, so that's probably what brought that price tag down. But
he wanted 30.
Trey Hendrickson, if you can get Trey Hendrickson here, if you can convince him to play here for 20, because there's a possibility he wins a championship, and he's willing to take that, I would sign that contract. I would have him sign that contract in a heartbeat, no doubt about it.
So
I think it's a little low for a guy who had back-to-back 17 sack seasons, Romy.
Myself and Sean, I know Dustin watches, big college football advocates, guys. I know a lot of the names in this draft. I know that there's guys that I like that I think are falling way too far down the board. But I do want to say this. This is a very edge-heavy draft. However, if you guys go look at some of these mock drafts that were released this weekend, almost every single one of these guys has like 10 to 15 edge rushers off the board by the end of the first round. And a lot of them gone before the Bears.
Always the premium position on the draft. Always.
Before the Bears ever even pick at 25, they've got like the top 8 to 10 guys off the board. So when it comes to, I think the defensive tackle is a bigger priority than edge. Defensive tackle might be a wider pool. A lot of these edge guys are falling like dominoes. And I personally want a 3 tech. That is what I want. But this is a super, super, super. It's a really good class of edge rushers. I think that you can get a quality edge rusher in the second round of this draft. Kyle, do you want to dive a little bit into the names that these guys have pitched?
Yeah, Brennan. So you had at one point had the which guy had mocked each guy. I didn't really focus on that. I just focused on the players that they were talking about. So all 3 different players have been mocked to the Bears.
Well, I'll say it real quick, guys. Mel Kiper had, and it's important to know this because it says a lot about the Bears' needs. Each individual, and these are the guys that I like, not so much Kiper, but these are the guys that I have a little more. I like Daniel Jeremiah. I like Matt Miller. Oh, and the reason that somebody's laughed at it. The reason I say fuck Todd McShay is because this guy, when everybody else is releasing their mock drafts, he puts his big board up and he won't release his mock draft because he thinks that there's all this anticipation for him. It's like, who do you think you are, Mr. Big Stuff? Fuck out of here with that. But Mel Kiper said Caden McDaniel, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Daniel Jeremiah said Dylan, did we say Thieneman, Kyle? Thieneman?
Yeah, that works for me.
Safety out of Oregon. And Matt Miller, who I like the most, guys, who was a writer for Bleacher Report for a long time. He said Zion Young, the edge rusher out of Missouri. Again, note that there's 3 different positions here. 3 different positions to these guys. So this is a blind draw as far as these guys mock drafting right now. I'm going to tell you right now, are really struggling to know what the Bears are going to do. And I agree. Somebody just said McDonald's a beast. McDonald is a fucking monster. That defense was incredible. That defensive front on that Ohio State football team, this does concern me a little bit though. he played alongside some monsters, and it's hard to
Oh,
dictate
Brennan,
sometimes how much a guy was doing.
he's a zero tech. He's a one tech. He's a run stopper. Now, listen, I'm sure that with his athletic traits, he's probably good enough to create some pressure here and there. But for the most part, this guy's a run stopper, so that you wouldn't be fixing your pass rush need. And James says, can you guys explain to me why we should draft defensive end in 2026? James, I would draft a defensive end in every draft. I'm not saying in the first round, but I would draft a defensive end at every single. The defensive line and offensive line can never get enough help. That's where the most injuries are sustained. I would draft a guy there every single draft and hope one of them's just a guy who you find the diamond in the rough, man. Because like number 22, you're not, unless you're a damn good GM, like one of the best GMs in the NFL. It's tough to get a blue chip quality player at 22, especially if it's a draft where it's not a very deep draft at a certain position. And on top of that, Brennan just said most of these mock drafts have the studs gone by 22. So it's going to be the Bears if they're going for defensive end, it could be a position now where it could be a little bit of a reach. Brennan, do you want me to break down? You want me to break down some of these guys?
Well, real quick, James. Last Monday we did a show about the free agents, and a lot of people were advocating for Dominic Robinson as a must keep. And if that's your mindset as a Bears fan, where one of the depth pieces
I agree, Squirrels,
on one of the worst defensive lines in football, no matter how you pitch it. I'm sorry, guys. You can like Montez Sweat, you can like Austin Booker, you can like Dominic Robinson. If you are advocating that a player at depth on this defensive line that we watched this year is a must keep, you are really fucking hurting at this position. Because as far as I'm concerned, you could scrap it all and start fresh. So it is very much one of the weakest positions on this football team.
Yeah, I mean, James, in that statement right there says it all. And he says Shoyinka is much better than Robinson. Yeah, he is. Maybe he is. I don't know. But
When you traded a pick for him, it'd be important to kind of get this guy back. But
neither of them are game changers by any means necessary.
No, they're not. And the depth pieces on this line.
That's why we're talking about drafting a defensive end. That's exactly why.
Yeah,
because
our starters aren't even
to Dominic Robinson.
That's right, exactly. And our starters aren't even like people. You look at the contract and the progress that Montez Sweat made this season. He did have an impact here, I thought, but he's still not the guy. Your starters aren't that good. Your depth is even worse. This is one of the worst defensive lines, guys. I said it before the season.
Montez Sweat's a damn good player. He's just not a pass rush specialist. That's the problem.
And he's not.
They need a pass rush.
He's not the guy that's going to make the impact the Bears need when it's 3rd and 12, and the game's on the line because these guys just didn't get home. But
probably not a game changer. I wouldn't consider him a game changer, but he is a damn good player. He's a very sound football player, if that makes any sense.
But guys, this game is won in the trenches, and getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks in the division that you're in with Jared Goff and Jordan Love, who I believe are good quarterbacks. You can argue about that all day, but you've got to get pressure on these guys. You've got to. And the piece that this Bears team is missing that would have made maybe a difference this year in getting to a Super Bowl is the guy who wins anyways. Montez Sweat's a good football player. They don't have the guy that these guys, the Myles Garrett's, the Max Crosby's, you watch the impact they make.
Well, not many teams
even when they're double teamed, they win anyways.
Yeah, and James says it's exactly my point, guys. We must either trade for an elite pass rusher or sign one in free agency. And James, we talked about this early in the show. I don't know if you were in here yet or not, but I said earlier, even if you do draft a defensive end or a pass rush specialist, I'd still consider going to get a guy like Trey Hendrickson, because if you go look at guys like Abdul Carter, their first year in the NFL, and we've talked about this many times. What's up, Travis? We talked about many times, guys. Defensive line is one of the toughest transitions in the sport from college to the NFL. So even if you do go draft a pass rusher, I would strongly consider bringing a guy like Trey Hendrickson in here for 1 year to be kind of that bridge player so that you can fix this next season. But real quick, Brendan, K. McDonald is a true nose tackle, Ohio State. He was a 6'3". Oh, yeah, by the way, guys, real quick before I start this, all these draft profiles I'm about to break down here, I'm about to give you guys, are from four-star Chicago Sports' very own Sean Lugo. If you guys go to our website, I think tomorrow morning we'll have them up.
Sean has an knack for this, guys. Once these are up, go check them out, because you'll be well ahead of everybody else who's analyzing these guys.
Sean watches a lot of college football, and he's damn good at this stuff. And
religiously.
He's already got, I think, 20 players from around there who are going to be up on our website tomorrow. So if you guys go 4starchicagosports.com, there's a link there where you can go into our college scouting.
It's worth saying a lot of guys that Sean liked in last year's draft became pretty quality rookies in this past NFL season.
Yeah, but the overview here, guys, once again, his role is his projected first round, 20 to 30. His role is early down nose tackle, interior run anchor. So this is a guy the Bears would bring here solely to stop the run. Like I said, with his athletic traits, you could see him starting to create a little bit of a pass
He's a
rush from the
freak.
inside. He can definitely certainly upset the timing of the offense, but I wouldn't expect 15 sacks on him. Cade McDaniel is one of the most physically dominant run defenders in the 2026 NFL draft. While his overall game is still rounding into form, his best snaps are elite and his impact against the run is undeniable. Chicago has struggled to consistently anchor the middle against downhill run teams. McDonald immediately upgrades that weakness. His ability to command double teams, hold his gap, and reset the line would allow the Bears linebackers to flow cleanly instead of catching blocks 3-4 yards past the line of scrimmage. This is the type of player who doesn't always show up in sack totals, but fundamentally changes how an offense has to call plays. He may never be high volume pass rusher, but his profile is a long-term, high floor interior presence with Pro Bowl level run defense upside. Some of his strengths, guys, are McDonald brings physical nose tackle size with thick, powerful frame and natural
He's a
leverage.
freak. He's a
He's
freak.
he's extremely difficult to move off his spot and consistently wins at the point of attack with heavy hands and lower body strength. His 13.8% stop rate is 91.2 run defense grade in 2025 reflect how frequently he disrupts run concepts before they can develop. He shows excellent gap discipline, rarely freelancing, and maintain balance through contact. McDonald's missed tackle rate is 3.3, which is outstanding for an interior pass rusher and one of the best of college football, highlighting his ability to finish plays once engaged. When he flashes as a pass rusher, it's usually through raw power, collapsing the pocket, and forcing quarterbacks off their spot. So, like I said, his sack numbers may not be great, but he's going to disrupt the timing of the offense. Some of his weaknesses, guys, McDonald remains more consistent against the run than as a pass rusher. His pass rush plan is underdeveloped, relying too heavily on bull rushes and strength rather than counters or hand usage. This shows up in his
He's
modest
got bad hands.
8.5 win rate on true pass sets in 2025. There are also questions about his arm length, which can limit his ability to disengage quickly and finish sacks. Additionally, McDonald has only one season as a full-time starter, leaving evaluators wanting more evidence of sustained level of play over multiple years, so more consistency. And you guys, it says everywhere you look, and this is Sean's draft profile, but his scheme fit for the Bears is a true nose tackle. So that's and if you go to the draft profile, guys, Sean has so much more on this guy than that. That's barely scratches the surface of what Sean broke down on this guy, but that's basically a quick look into.
And the thing that I like most about McDonald, and not when it comes to reading draft bios, guys, if you're watching college football, you obviously Ohio State's going to be a team you're going to see a lot of national attention, a lot of primetime games.
Leave a lot. I believe
This
Trandrick said would make this a much more dangerous pass.
The thing that you read, the thing that I noticed watching him is the gap discipline. And I have preached on this show for a year now, guys, that your linebackers are really suffering because of this. You're not.
Yeah, Prophet. We're all wrong. You were wrong too. You just don't have the chance to talk about it for 3 hours on a podcast. Everybody's wrong at times, right, man? And Sean never said he didn't like Colston Loveland. He just said he didn't like the pick.
I don't know where that came from, but
it was one of his chats.
McDonald is he has a lot of gap discipline. He's great in the gap, and that doesn't just affect the run, guys. I'm not just talking about stuffing the run, which is I told you just go look it on ESPN, go look at all the nose tackles in the NFL. The stuff stat is the most important. So when it comes to the pass rush, people pointed out a lot that Gervon Dexter has almost the same, if not better, numbers than Jalen Carter. Look at the stuff numbers. Look at the ability to tackle somebody in the gap at the line of scrimmage or behind the line for a short loss of yards. I think Jalen Carter had like 11 his rookie season, where Dexter had 3. This is a really important statistics, not just for the ability to stop the run, guys, but when you fill the gap, these swing guards cannot get to the second level to block Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. And that's where these two linebackers really, really fucking struggle. Once they get picked, once they're engaged in a block with an offensive lineman, they're weak. They are not getting off those blocks. And we saw it time and time again. A guy who stuffs the gap erases entirely the ability for the offensive lineman, the really athletic offensive lineman, to get to the second level and make blocks.
Yeah, and real
So
quick, guys, this is not who anybody on this podcast is saying the Bears should draft. This is a guy that, by all accounts, will still be available when the Bears are up picking in the first round, and a guy that fits a need for them, and a guy that the Bears have, according to writers and different people in the media, the Bears have shown interest in. That's all. And you know what? The Bears have met with, I mean, Brennan, what, it's like 200 players now. They've already, Ryan Poles has had a conversation with. I mean, that
well,
doesn't mean anything. It means
they were at the
absolutely nothing.
they were at the Senior Bowl watching specifically
Yeah, and
defensive line.
you know what? Ryan Poles had, Brennan, how many top 30 visits do we draft last year? I mean, it doesn't mean anything. We're just giving you guys that people have shown up in people's mock drafts and are considered to be believed to be still available for the Bears in the first round. Brennan,
And real quick, Sean says it best. Sean talks about it a lot, and I agree with him. You want guys from these programs, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States. These guys are playing the best of the best. So you can look at numbers and say, well, that guy has better numbers than McDonald. Well, that guy played for the Pac-12. That guy, whatever. You know what I mean? These SEC, these guys with these big time schools, the Big Ten's ground and pound conference, right? These guys are playing the best people in college. They're playing the best offensive linemen in college. It's important to note that.
yeah, let's move on to number 2 mock draft for the Bears. And this guy, I think this guy can be considered either.
But real quick, Caden McDonald is one of those guys like Darnell Wright, who is just, when you look at his size and the ability to move, it doesn't add up. He's a freak. At the size this guy is, his ability to get lateral is pretty remarkable for a young guy, especially who's only played one season as a starter. He has all the potential in the world to be one of the best nose tackles in the NFL because of his athletics alone. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yes, the next guy we're going to talk about, guys, is Dylan Theneman is a safety at Oregon, 6 foot, 207 pounds. His draft projection is late first or early second. Picks 25 through 35 is where he's projected to go. Now, I know that has moved up a little bit because when the initial early mock drafts had him as a 3rd round pick. So maybe the Bears are hoping he falls to their 3rd round. His role is free safety, cover one center fielder. His overview: Dylan Theneman is one of the smartest and most instinctive defensive backs in the draft. A high IQ safety with extensive starting experience. Theneman plays fast because he processes fast. He brings legitimate range, strong ball production, and the confidence to trigger downhill in the run game. While he isn't the biggest safety and still has some technical cleanup to do, his floor as a long-term starter is extremely high, and his best tape suggests Pro Bowl caliber coverage ability. Some of his strengths: Theneman's calling card is mental processing. He reads route concepts quickly, anticipates throws, and consistently arrives at the catch point on time. His 91.1 coverage grade in 2025 reflects his comfort playing both zone and man. Particularly as a single high defender, he shows excellent range from the middle of the field and closes ground quickly with strong straight line speed. He's a film junkie who plays with confidence and decisiveness. Against the run, Theneman triggers downhill without hesitation and finishes violently when he squares up. His missed tackle rate is 8.3, solid given his volume of snaps, 2,400 plus. And his pursuit effort consistently shows up on tape. He's active in the passing lanes, tracks the ball in the air, and has proven ball production dating back to his freshman season. One of his weaknesses, guys, Theneman is not physically dominant safety and can struggle when asked to take on blocks consistently. He doesn't always disengage cleanly and can resort to ankle biting in space. His pursuit angles can be inconsistent, particularly when reacting to misdirection or heavy play action concepts. And then Brennan, this is not part of Sean's draft profile, but Brennan also saw something today that said he does struggle more in man than he does in zone. And as
he
you
absolutely
guys know,
does. He absolutely. I love Oregon.
Dennis Allen loves man coverage.
I watched a few Oregon games this year, guys. He is an extension of his defensive coordinator's mind. This is a coach on the field. This is a captain in a year from now. After past his rookie season, he's going to be one of the voices in the locker room that you follow. He is technically sound as hell. He is in the right. He is where he's supposed to be all the time. His ability, and I do want to say this, Kyle, so let me know what you think. I want to ask your opinion on this. This is not a Jaquan Brisker replacement. This is a Kevin Byard replacement. This is a cover guy. This is a guy who's in the right place at the right time. Like I said, he's disciplined, but he's not a hit you in the fucking mouth kind of guy.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've watched some of the tape, and he certainly looks good on tape. And obviously it's tough, guys, because I don't watch every single game, and when watching highlight films, they're usually going to show you the best plays of the season. They're not going to show you where he screwed up a lot or where he missed assignments, where he struggled in coverage, but he does look athletic. Remember, these guys are all young, so people talk about these guys sometimes like they're a finished product. You know, if some of the NFL coaches who are looking into these guys and considering drafting them, they know that this is not a finished product and there's going to be some work to do. So maybe they're talking about what they see as his potential, his future, his ceiling, what they can mold him into. I've heard things on both sides of the aisle here. I've heard people say they like him a lot. He's going to be a damn good safety in the NFL. I've heard other people say that this would be a huge gamble for the Bears, and he's not. He's certainly not worthy of first round pick. I think James actually just said that a minute ago in the chat here, almost to a T. I think him is a huge gamble for the first round. I think if anything, from what I've read, from what I've saw, I'd be more comfortable drafting for this guy in the second round. So I certainly wouldn't reach for him. But I mean, you guys, at the end of the day, I trust Dennis Allen. I trust Ben Johnson. If they feel like they can draft this guy and turn him into something better and make him better than he's been in college, and we haven't seen his true potential, then I'm all for it. Because people talk about Jaquan Brisker like he's the best safety in the NFL. He's not. He's just not. And he was a second round pick. And to me, I don't think he reached the potential the Bears thought he was going to. So if they think this guy is better, or they think this guy's better than Kevin Byard, because Brennan, like you said, he's more of a free range safety, then I'm all for it, man. Now, if we draft them and they miss, it's going to set the Bears back and it's going to suck. But I'll tell you this: if I am bringing back one of the two safeties in free agency this year, I'm bringing back Kevin Byard. So I would focus more on a true box safety, bringing somebody who can stop the run. That's just me personally.
Guys, it's not the player himself. I like Thieneman. I don't love drafting a safety in the first round. Like I said, I think if you get better up front, your secondary is going to naturally get better, no matter who it is you're putting back there alongside Kevin Byard, if that's the guy you decide to resign. I think the trenches will greatly impact the guys that are playing on the back end of this defense. So I don't know. I think you're looking at safety as a need before evaluating why it is the safeties struggle to play in this defense. And I think you got to fix things up front. If you draft a safety in the first round and you miss on your second, third, or you draft some guys in the trenches that you miss on, the safety's not going to look all that good. That's just the way. This is the most cohesive unit in sports. The defensive side of an NFL football team. The secondary's got to be good for the guys up front to get home. The guys up front got to get home for the secondary to be able to cover. I don't know that adding a player to a unit. I feel personally the secondary is the strongest part of this defense. I think the linebackers are weak. I think up front you've got a lot of problems. I don't know that adding somebody in the secondary in the first round is going to make this defense as a whole any better than it was last year if you don't get quality talent up front.
Yeah, I agree, Brent. And to that point, I'm glad you said that, because the next guy who was mocked to the Chicago Bears recent weeks is Zion Young,
and this was by Matt Miller, guys, a writer that I love.
Yeah, and I love this guy's size. Zion Young is an edge out of Missouri. He's 6'5", 262 pounds.
More of an edge setter.
His draft projection is late first, early day two. He's a power edge setter, strong side defensive end. His background, he was a team captain and a vocal defensive leader. Sean's overview for Zion Young is Zion Young is one of the most physically imposing edge defenders in the draft and a major riser following his Senior Bowl performance. He brings a rare blend of size, length, power, and effort that consistently shows up against both the run and the pass. While he lacks elite bend and twitch, Young, I don't know, I think that's a mispronounce. Young compensates with heavy hands, strong rush angles, and relentless motor. His game is built on strength, discipline, and violence at the point of attack, and those traits translate cleanly to the NFL. There's a real chance we look back a year from now and ask why he wasn't a first-round pick. Some of his strengths. Young's power is his calling card. At 6'5", with long arms and a strong, well-distributed frame, he consistently sets the edge, resets the line of scrimmage, and collapses pockets with effort and force. He plays with bent elbows and excellent leverage for his size, allowing him to win early in reps and dictate contact. As a pass rusher, Young is far more developed than is often given credit for. He shows strong hand timing when locked in, accurate strike placement, and a deep understanding of how to attack tackles sets. His inside moves are legitimately nasty, and his cross chop flashed repeatedly at the Senior Bowl. He doesn't just bull rush. He strings power moves together and knows how to counter once a lineman overset. Sean has some of the numbers in here. Young's disruption metrics back to tape in 2025. He posted 56 QB pressures, second most in the SEC, top 15 nationally, 42 total tackles, 16.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. The sack numbers don't fully capture his impact. Young consistently forces quarterbacks off their spot and creates opportunities for others by collapsing the pocket. Some of his weaknesses, guys, Young is not high-end bend twitch rusher. He's flexibility and ankle flexion are average, limiting his ability to
Not
consistently
an
run with
outside
speed
rush.
around the corner. His agility, so this wouldn't be your NASCAR package guy. His agility in space is functional rather than dynamic, and his rush plan can become predictable when his hand timing slips. There are also off-field considerations, including DUI arrest, that the team will no longer vet. While he is widely regarded as a strong locker room presence, the team leader, background
What's
checks
he
will
gonna do in
factor into his
Missouri?
final grade.
Did Sean say fuck Mizzou at the end of that?
I can scroll the bottom here. I usually usually anything with Mizzou finishes with something like that.
Yeah,
Nope.
Sean's a Kansas guy. He's not a big fan, but I agree with Sean. Did a great job there, and I hate to say this, man. Matt Miller is my favorite of these three, and he's to me far more correct than the other two. But this is my least favorite, Kyle. This is my least favorite because you know who I think this player is most comparable to in the NFL?
Who's that?
Montez Sweat.
Yeah, reading his draft profile. I mean, I got to see a little bit of tape on him, Brendan. I haven't watched a ton. I watched a little bit of the Senior Bowl, but yeah, he sounds like Montez Sweat. Like if that was probably Montez Sweat's draft profile right there.
He is a great edge setter, phenomenal, probably maybe the best in college football, and he does have some inside work. He's got hands, but his outside rush is not where it needs to be a first round pick. And I also think I don't agree with the assessment that he's got he's got one or two moves. He's obviously a guy who could establish more, but
J2K, I like Sonny
key to
Styles a
being
lot. That's Sean's guy, man. That's
the
Sean's
key to
guy.
being
Sorry,
an edge
bud.
rusher, guys, you've got to be able to confuse the guy who's blocking you. You've got to present something different each snap. So if you try to bull rush him one play, maybe try to throw him, use your hands on the second. His outside rush coming around, bending around the corner is not good. It's not good. And we were just talking about this, Kyle. You're looking for that guy. You're looking for a pure edge rusher. You're looking for a guy. Montez Sweat is a phenomenal edge setter, and I think that Booker was developing into a pretty quality edge setter as well. I want a pass rusher. I do. I agree, Romy. I don't like him in the first. I want a pass rusher. I want a pure, like you said, Kyle, the NASCAR package pins his ears back and he gets after the quarterback. This is not that guy. I don't believe that he is.
Brendan, you're at the mercy of the draft, right? I mean, there's really, if you want that, you want that stud pass rusher, but by the time it gets to the Chicago Bears, then there's just no studs left, and more of them are guys who are projected in the mid to late second round. And you're certainly not going to reach for them, right? You want the best player available. But yeah, I mean, Brendan, I've talked about this numerous times on the show alone. I mean, regardless of who the Bears draft to be their next pass rush specialist, I would bring somebody in here, even if it is a Khalil Mack, a kind of cheaper deal. I would bring somebody in here from free agency to help this pass rush, Brendan, because what you're trying to develop, we've seen the development of Austin Booker, right? This is a process. It's a process. This is not something that happens overnight. Transitioning from college to the NFL is one of the toughest things in the entire world. This is one of the most this is probably the most athletic sports league of any league in the world. These are true warriors. These guys are absolutely destroyed. By the time they get to the playoffs, they're all banged up, bashed up. It's a very, very tough transition to go from college football to the 2,000 best in the world in the NFL. I hope that when the Bears are up and they're picking in the first round, I hope there's a guy who can add to the pass rush for the Chicago Bears. But this is something that, because of it's in the state it's in, and probably due in part to Ryan Poles and how he's failed to draft a true pass rush specialist, you're probably going to have to throw numerous resources at this position. You're probably going to have to get somebody in the draft, maybe second, third round. And while you develop them at the same time, you're going to have to sign somebody in free agency who can make an immediate impact for this team. So they're actually competing for a Super Bowl.
And I think when we talk about, a deep class like this one is with edge, and I've been saying this since last off season, this is going to be one of the most remarkable edge classes, I think, historically in the NFL. There are guys who are projected in the second and third round at this position that I think might be better than some of the guys who we're seeing projected really high.
Yeah, and remember, guys, on the Barely There podcast,
Yakis, as J2K mentions, from Illinois, and Vincent Anthony, who destroyed Illinois, which, by the way, was one of the best offensive lines in college football this year. I think he had 3.5 sacks against them. These are guys who are projected, and I think Giannis is projected late first, but early second maybe. You can find talent at this position in this year's draft class, in later rounds, mid rounds, where you don't need to prioritize a first round pick at the edge position.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested, the Barely There podcast, Sean, Jason, and I, we every week we break down every single position in the draft. Defensive end, we'll do a week, spend a week on defensive end, then we'll spend a week on defensive tackle, then we'll spend a week on linebacker, then we'll spend a week on safety, so on and so forth. And all the names that are probably going to be available to the Bears, at least for the first 5-6 rounds of the NFL draft, will be mentioned on our show at some point. And we'd love to hear what you guys in the chat think about each one of these guys. Sorry, guys, there's only 2 of us on the show today, so it's very tough to keep up with the chat here. I'd love to hear what you guys think about which way the Bears are going to go in the draft. I know that, these are, first of all, Brennan, we talked about this earlier, way too early mock drafts, guys. You know for a fact the 3 guys whose mock drafts we just presented to you guys are going to change drastically over the coming weeks, especially after the combine. The combine always changes everything. Always, the combine always throws a wrench in the gears for everybody's mock drafts. They get all screwed up because there's always a few guys who judge out their RAS scores, just put them over the edge, and they move from the 3rd round to the 2nd round or 2nd round to the 1st round. There's going to be a ton of that, but we're just going over what we've heard, some of the rumors, some of the mock drafts, guys the Bears have had conversations with. I'm not saying I want any of these guys. I'll make my decision a couple weeks before the draft and who I'm looking for in that 1st round. I said last year I wanted Josh Simmons. Obviously, the Bears decided to go with Colston Loveland. I'm not disappointed about the pick now. I think Colston Loveland's a damn good player. He looks generational to me, but I still wouldn't have been upset, Brennan, if the Bears decided to draft Josh Simmons last year and he was the starting left tackle for the Bears for the next 5 years. I think he looked damn good in Kansas City. I think he's a damn good player, and he's going to be for a long time. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, it comes down to preference. There's 200 something kids about to get drafted. All of them are worthy of an NFL look. And it's going to come down to who the Bears and Ryan Poles think is the best player available, and probably going to have to consider a position of need, right? I mean,
well, and like you said,
the best guy available to the Bears is right tackle. Probably not going to draft him, right?
These things will not only change because these guys are clearly very confused about what direction the Bears are going to go in regards to their greatest need. I mean, you've got 3 guys who do this for a living, projecting 3 different positions, not players, positions. It's clearly a gray area here. The Chicago Bears are probably one of the harder teams this year for these guys to figure out. But as Ryan Poles makes moves in the offseason and free agency with trades, and I'm sure he will, we're going to see some trades, I think, with the Bears. But how well does he shore up the defensive front before you get to the draft? So as the mock draft, does Ryan Poles make a trade and sign an edge? And by the time, they're doing their 2.0s on these mock drafts, or is it a safety? Is it a left tackle? Is it a running back? Is the need completely flipped upside down on its head? Because that's what Ryan Poles did in this last offseason. The 1.0s last year, Kyle, in the offseason would have been offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. After Ryan Poles did the work that he did in the offseason, people were all of a sudden like, well, I guess the Bears can kind of do what they want, which I think was Ben Johnson's goal. Because like I said, guys, I think Ben wants somebody, a running back, a left tackle. I think if Trapillo's injury is as prolonged as it's going to be, not even severe, not as severe as it is.
Phil, we all looked like idiots at some point in our mock drafts last year. I think everybody does, because
That's right.
I mean, very rarely do you even get one pick right.
It's like being a weatherman. Mel Kiper's a fucking meteorologist. You're guessing, but even it's an educated guess. But even if I don't know, I would imagine that Ben Johnson will try to manipulate this offseason and manufacture it so that he can pick a guy he wants with his 1st round pick. I truthfully believe that, guys. I do. I don't think that Ben Johnson's going in this offseason like 1st round picks. Definitely a defender. It's definitely a guy in the defensive line.
You never should. You never should.
It depends upon what your GM's able to do to put you in the position that you'd like to be in. And I would imagine that Ben Johnson is telling Poles now, try to address this defensive front as much as you possibly can so I have a little more freedom with my picks.
All right, man. Bern, it's been a pleasure. Chat. We love you guys. I unfortunately have to get out of here, guys. I have to join a meeting for 4-Star Chicago Sports. But Sean, Jason, and I will be back on the Barely There podcast on Wednesday. We're going to talk about more about the draft. We're also going to break down some of the Bears' new breaking stadium news. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have heard already that Indiana has just made a huge chess move in the hunt for the Chicago Bears. And I think that as much as none of us want to believe it, and as much as we didn't believe it, as much as we didn't believe it early, I think Indiana is actually starting to gain some steam. And if you hear the offer that they gave to the Bears, basically the Bears can purchase their stadium for $1 if they sign it, $1 if they sign a 35-year contract. Whether you want to leave the state of Illinois or not,
Good
that's
old Gary.
really tough to pass up on. But I'm hearing right now that the first year, if the Bears stay in Illinois, the first year of their property taxes would be 100 to 200 million, somewhere in there. The next,
Yeah, Illinois is a piece
the
of shit.
second team behind them, Brendan, in property taxes, the Bears would be between 100 and 200 million, would be the Los Angeles Rams at 8 million a year. So it almost seems like Illinois doesn't want the Bears, if you ask me. But yeah, we'll talk about that stuff on Wednesday. We'll talk about more of the draft. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys, man. I'm not going to go through all the names because you guys are so loyal and there's so much in the chat, so many people in the chat here. But I don't know if you're going to stick around, Brennan. But I got to get out of here, man.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Kyle. Much love. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. Appreciate
Tell me
you.
what happens with the meeting. Tell Lindsay I said hello. Like I said, guys, Kyle and Sean are meeting with our media director tonight. I just want to do one more thing. And I'm probably going to lose most of the chat here. I'm probably going to lose most of the viewership here. I want to talk about the first overall pick in this draft. Because the Raiders just hired themselves a head coach in Clint Kubiak, which I think is a great hire. I really do. He was he's a stud. He's a stud of a play caller. He's a stud of an offensive schemer. And it's being widely reported, as it should be, that infamously Fernando Mendoza, after the Heisman season, the college football championship with an Indiana program that wasn't really highly touted as of 3 years ago, is going to be just the given first overall pick in this draft. And I actually, of all the mock drafts I've seen, Matt Miller's, like I said, the guy I like the most, had two quarterbacks going between the first two rounds. Ty Simpson out of Alabama and Mendoza with the first overall pick. And there's a name that I think people have kind of forgotten about because of an injury that was very, very gruesome, very, very hard to watch, in Carson Beck. Carson Beck out of Miami, formerly played for Georgia. I think Carson Beck might still, regardless of the injury, be the best quarterback in this draft class. He will certainly be the best rookie if giving a starting role. He has played 20 more games, 20 guys, 2 followed by 0, than Mendoza did in college football. You know I'm big on this, guys. I've been a preacher of this. Mendoza has a very low pass attempt count. Beck is well past his numbers. And Beck has just played a lot more football. Those guys typically have much better rookie seasons in the NFL. It's not going to happen. This is just, I'm putting this on record for my own sake right now, guys. Carson Beck should be the player that Kubiak is targeting. He's the highest rated anticipation thrower in the NFL. His only con is that he's bad under pressure. He's a statue. Mendoza's not much of a mover himself. He can flush, he can scramble. He's not a runner. I think that the Raiders would make a grave mistake if they were to look past Carson Beck in order to draft Fernando Mendoza. Carson Beck, remember, guys, was the highly touted first projected pick in the draft in the NFL before the injury sustained during the college championship for Georgia. I still believe this kid's got it. We saw Drew Brees recover from a really bad injury to his shoulder, in which his arm basically got put behind him. I think that Carson Beck showed this season in Miami that he is still the player he once was. He's got a fucking really talented arm, a really talented arm. He's the size of an NFL quarterback, the same as Mendoza is, and he's got a lot more experience, guys. And I'm going to preach this till the day I die. When you're drafting a quarterback that you expect to start, okay? Not a Jordan Love, not a guy you're going to put on the bench behind another guy, not a guy that follows a bridge quarterback. If you want a quarterback to start for you from the minute he's drafted, you have got to draft a guy who's played a lot of football. Carson Beck has done so more so than any other quarterback in this draft. I think that he's the answer for the Raiders if they know what's good for him. I don't think that's the way they're going to go. Mark my words. You saw it here on Chicago, 4-Star Chicago Sports, guys. Carson Beck will have a good rookie year if he is placed in a starting role in the NFL. That is what I wanted to say about that, guys. After the Raiders decided to made a hire at the head coach position, I thought it was important to talk about who the first overall pick in this draft might be. It will be Mendoza. I have no doubt about that. I bet my money on it, and they will regret it. I like Mendoza. I think he's still not NFL ready. I don't peg him as an NFL ready quarterback. I think a lot of people do. He's weird. The guy's like George McFly. Honestly, watch for real. All of you in this chat, go watch some tape of Mendoza just talking off the field. not on the field. As a leader on the field, the guy is tremendous. He's better than anybody might be in college football. Off the field, he's a little cringe, and I think it's going to be hard for grown ass men to follow this guy's lead. He couldn't motivate me to make a sandwich. So Carson Beck, I think, is the answer for the Raiders. It's not the direction they're going to go. They're going to regret it. Mark my words. You heard it here first, guys. True Pilgrim, J2K, Dante Purify, Philip, John, all you guys, much love. We appreciate you. Sorry we didn't have other two hosts tonight. Sorry Kyle had to jet early. We will probably have four again soon, guys. I'm guessing by maybe next Monday, maybe not. But we'll be here for you no matter what. Whoever it is that's got to do this show, whoever it is that's available, I will always be here. We'll be back, guys, Wednesday. Barely There podcast. Kyle and Sean, Jay, they're going to go over I'm not sure, they haven't announced which position it is they're going to break down in regards to the potential players that could be drafted. And me and Dustin should be back Thursday night, 11:30. If you're up late for the bare minimum, guys, and it is what we preach it to be, it is just that. Me and Dustin shoot the shit. We really implore that you guys watch that show specifically because it's really just a conversation. We don't really approach it with too much preparation. We just kind of roll with the flow. So please, guys, join us for those shows. And obviously, we'll be back again for the Household Hangover next Monday after the Super Bowl. I'm not sure who you guys are cheering for. I don't give a fuck about either one of these teams. There's not even a person to root for. I hate this Super Bowl, guys. Not only because it happened 6 years ago or whatever it was, where Marshawn Lynch didn't get the ball, and I can tell you this right now, we're gonna see that fucking play 100 times on Sunday. Okay, we're going to see the play where the decision by Pete Carroll to throw the ball as opposed to run the ball. We're going to see it 100 times. You're going to bleed from your eyes by the time you're done watching that shit. It's annoying already to me. I don't like the Super Bowl. There's nobody in here I'd like to root for. I like Mike Vrabel, but not a crazy fan about him. This Super Bowl sucks. I would have been all in on Matt Stafford if he had gotten to the Super Bowl. I don't care about it. I'll watch it probably intoxicated just to get through it. And let us know in the chat, guys, who you think's going to win this one. Is it going to be? I know it's a little early. Is it going to be the Seahawks? Is it going to be the Patriots? Do you even care? Are we rooting? Are we all rooting for both teams to lose? Can we make that happen? Um, Halftime show sucks. Garbage ass. This is going to be a terrible Super Bowl, and I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer, but that's the reality of it. Guys, much love. Thanks for joining us as always. We will be back Wednesday, and again, please, please, please try to tune into that Thursday show if you're up. It's tough to get an audience at 11:30 at night, but if you just can't sleep, my voice will put you. My content will put you to sleep. Okay, that's a guarantee. Please come back for the next one, guys. We love you and bear down. We'll be back.